Is your job destroying who you are? Are you neglecting loved ones because you are chasing validation through a job title and a salary? If you are, this video is for you. This is definitely one of the most important videos I've done, where I do a reaction talk through video to a fantastic podcast hosted by Dr. Chatterjee Ranjan, and the guest is Dr. Gabor Matt. This is fantastic. It's impactful, it's meaningful, and there's a deep message here that consuming yourself with your job for years and years, going above and beyond, working hard for your employer, chasing the corporate salary and title, is not only damaging you as a person, but you are neglecting loved ones. The one reason we all go to earn money is for our family, to try and create a better life. But yet in the process of chasing this non-meaningful thing, which just isn't important, we actually neglect the ones that we love. It's totally backwards, and we become blinded and we have the blinkers on. And this video, I really want you to stick around to the end. I will try to do my best not to pause it too much, but I really want you to come away and realize what is important in life. And especially as we're on the cusp of 2026, the time for change and to wake up, which is what all of my videos are about, is waking up. Look after you and your family first, not an employer. Look, you know I'm passionate about this. Without further ado, I've got a few notes that I'm going to run through. Let's jump straight into it. But yeah, for context of this podcast, we've taken the clip here where he basically says, in a nutshell, wake up. Working hard doesn't get you anywhere. Put your family first. Otherwise, your mental health and your physical health is going to take its toll.
Now, this thing of I wish I hadn't worked so hard, that's an interesting one, because I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And what do I mean by that? Speaking for myself, and I don't know if this is true for you, but I became a physician for some really good reasons. One of them was I genuinely wanted to help suffering humanity. And I thought medicine is a perfect pathway through which I could help people. That's genuine, and I meant it. I also chose a profession where I was fairly confident of making a decent living so I could support a life for myself and my family. That's legitimate. But those reasons don't make you work too hard. They make you work hard, but they don't make you work too hard. What makes you work too hard, and that's what these people are saying, is you're driven by something that you're not even aware of. And what I wasn't aware of when I went to medical school and when I was a physician for decades is how driven I was to justify my existence in the world.
Okay, just a quick pause. This is really common, and I've worked with people like this. They work hard to justify their existence. This is backwards. You do not need to justify your existence, because we're here for such a short period of time. It's about being happy, content with loved ones, not proving things to other people. And that's what's backwards about the society that we're in, and especially with social media, is everyone is trying to prove to other people that they're worthy, and you don't need to.
And to prove that I was important and worthwhile and so on. And that had to do with the loss of that confidence owing to early childhood trauma. And so it's not a question, nobody says, I wish I hadn't worked hard to achieve something in life. You have to work hard. They're saying, I wish I hadn't worked too hard. And that too part, the TOO part, comes from being driven by unconscious needs to validate your existence, where why should any human being have to validate their existence? You know? And so that's what they're saying. And when you're driven to work too hard, you actually ignore what matters. And what matters is how much it matters for you to spend time with your family. So every summer, you take a bunch of weeks away from your podcast and you just spend time enjoying your kids.
I just want to pause it here. This is why it's so important for me and my family that we spend as much time with our son as possible, that we go on as many holidays as we can, to visit as many countries. Because again, going back to the fact that we are here for a short period of time. Don't be comfortable serving. And I really emphasize the word serving someone else, giving your time, your energy to someone who isn't giving you that fair exchange, or more importantly, not giving your family that fair exchange. Think about it. I know we have to earn money, but on average, we send our children for 6 hours on average to a school to teach them outdated things. We then go to a place of work for 8 to 10 hours. There is no fair exchange in either scenario. We have to focus on what is truly important. And I Believe me, it is not your job title or your salary.
And your wife and your family. And I didn't do that. For me, it was very hard to even take holidays. I always felt I had to keep working. If somebody was pregnant, oh my God, what if I would miss their delivery? Like the baby couldn't enter the world without me, you know? So that drivenness is what makes people work too hard. And so it's not a matter of working hard, it's a matter of working too hard. And where does that come from? Again, that comes from childhood trauma.
A lot of doctors, and I have several friends like this, they don't take their full allowance of annual leave. Sounds like you may have been similar.
I had that tendency, yeah.
Yeah, and
I have worked with people like this where they almost use it as bragging rights, where they turn around and say, I didn't even take my full annual. I've only had 2 days off this year. Haven't even taken my full holiday. Deluded, blinded, confused, delulu, been knocked on the head. That's not something to brag about. Openly saying you haven't used your contractual holiday that you're given to spend time with your family. For what? Your employer doesn't care that you haven't taken 13, 14, 15 days that you were entitled to, and you've only taken 2 of them because you've prioritized your workplace. That's not a healthy thing to do. And, you know, he's openly saying here, you know, he knows people, he's been guilty of it. And I've never been guilty of that, but I have worked with people who have been. It's not a good thing.
often people will say, and I have a friend who says this, yeah, but my patients need me.
No, they don't need them. They need medical help.
Yeah. But I think we have to ask ourselves, and this is very, very common in medicine, actually. I'm sure it's common in other professions as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you don't take your full allowance of annual leave that your contract entitles you to. It's often paid time off, right? It's part of your job.
Yeah.
When you're not taking it, of course, there can be reasons for that. There can be reasonable reasons. There can be work reasons. But if you're not, I think it may be worth reflecting on some of those underlying, you know, those real drivers of that.
Well, it occurs to me that what your friend is actually saying is not that my patients need me, but I need my patients.
Yeah.
I've worked again with people like that who have turned around and said, I can't take a day off. I can't call in sick even though I'm not well because they need me. They don't. Honestly, I get chills watching this because as someone who's no longer in a job, I am passionate about passing all of this on and this information to you so that you can reflect and go, I do need to put my family first and yourselves. I'm deeply, deeply passionate about this, and I really hope I will continue to put these messages out there because people need to hear it.
To feel okay. And when I'm not working to help them, I don't know who I am and I don't feel comfortable with myself. So I need them. Now that means get thee to a therapist and deal with it. And not only that, even your capacity to help your patients over time will be eroded.
Totally.
By the way you're stressing yourself and you're not taking care of yourself. And physicians are notoriously programmed to ignore themselves. And there was a very interesting study that I mentioned in the book, The Myth of Normal. They looked at the fraying of the chromosomes of people. And, you know, when we're born with certain structures called telomeres, and telomeres are DNA structures at the end of our chromosomes. And their fraying and their shortening is a mark of aging and of stress. And they looked at the telomeres of medical residents compared to other people their age. They age faster, they fray faster.
How many people have you worked with in higher roles who are overweight, unhealthy, on antidepressants, anxiety tablets, losing their hair and stressed? How is that good for anyone? Okay, you might have a title. You might be on 60, 70, 80, 100, 150, 200, 250 grand a year. At what? The result of poor health? Is it worth it? Like, I've always prioritized health. I just always have, because it's never about how much money you make. It's about how long are you going to be on this earth to be with your family, experience things. Like some of the most stressful jobs and the ones that require 60, 70, 80 hours, and there's definitely no fair exchange of time or money in return. Lawyers, teachers, and doctors. You know, these guys are doctors. They're openly saying, I know many doctors and I've spoken with many doctors at all different levels, at all different pay packets. Take my word for it or go and do your own research. Most doctors are not happy. Yes, they're doing an incredible job and we need them, but they are overstretched and a lot of them are neglecting their family. And then you have to ask yourself, where's the breaking point?
Yeah. And so physicians are driven to actually not spare themselves and to literally consume themselves in the work, then in the long term, that may make you a very popular and very successful doctor, but in the long term, it's going to be at the expense of your marriage and of your children and of your own mental and physical health.
And therefore, if we think about a human being needs to feel that they're of value to other people. We need that. In our tribes, 50,000 years ago, we would have felt of value because we would have a role and other people would see that role. They would benefit from it and we would benefit from the things they were doing, whether it's someone's hunting, someone's gathering, someone's putting the fire on, whatever it might be. In this me-focused culture where it's all me, 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 and what are my needs and what do I need to do and how can I better myself, I feel that we often don't feel of value to others. We don't feel important. And so it makes sense that in that culture, you might overwork. You might keep pushing yourself because if you're not working and feeling important there, then actually you may not have that sensation in any other aspects of your life.
Office cliques. Trying to be a part of the clique, not feeling independent enough that you could be a bit of a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm happy to work on my own. I'm not trying to prove a point to anyone. But you see it in the workplace. People are trying to prove a point. They're trying to fit in. Again, and it goes back to survival. They're trying to play a role. Going back to that tribe mentality of this is my role. I am, I have some importance. Don't kick me out of the tribe. This is why as well, it's so important to become financially independent, learning to become comfortable in yourself, learning to not prove points to everyone else and looking for validation. Start getting comfortable with you. Start putting yourself and your family first, opposed to thinking, well, I need to pretend to be someone in the workplace, suppressing my true authentic self just so I fit in and survive in the workplace tribe.
Do you know Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not personally.
No. The book. It's always been one of my favorite books. And I've talked about this before. The end of that book would bring tears to my eyes for years. Because how it ends is Christopher Robin, by the way, that's a whole other thing. The relationship between A.A. Milne and his son Christopher was a very fraught and difficult one.
Right.
And Christopher actually resented the books because he felt that his father was buying these toys to write about rather than for his own benefit.
Wow.
Well, they had a very different, there's a photograph of the two of them, and the kid is looking so alienated. He had a tough life. But that's a whole other story. But the book, in the book, Christopher Robin, the little boy, now has to go to school.
Yeah.
And he has to learn about history and factors and mathematics and so on. And he's telling his friends, the toy animals, that he won't be able to play with them so much anymore.
Listen to this, by the way, really listen carefully, because I tell you what, this gives me chills. Sitting here watching this, and the meaning behind it is, honestly, it's so impactful.
And in the end, Christopher and Winnie the bear of Little Brain, who's the smartest of the whole lot, and they walk off together, and the book ends with the statement, something like, and whatever they do or wherever they go in the enchanted forest, the little boy and his bear will always be playing together. And that phrase would bring tears to my eyes for years. Because play is so important. And joy is so important. And that's what these people are talking about. And they didn't allow themselves to experience it. They sacrificed the play and the joy for all these other things. And so the good thing is, my marriage, the best thing, and you know what the best thing in my marriage is? The way we play together. Mm-hmm. The first time I dated my wife, Ray, I knocked on the parents' door and I said, can Ray come out and play?
I just want to hop in here. For me and my son, I've mentioned my son before in a few of my videos now. We play all the time. He's 12 now. We go hiking, we ride bikes, he boxes, we go to the gym together, we laugh, we play, we muck about. When we go on holiday as a family together, we're always joking and laughing. And I spend so much time with him. And when I was planning on escaping the 9 to 5 back in my 20s, and I did at 27, it was always how can I craft and build and design a life that will allow me to never miss a moment of joy and watching him grow up? This really, like for me as a parent, and if you kind of feel like you know me a little bit, this really does hit home with me. It's not about how much money you make. It's not about what you have. It's not about the size of your house. It's not about your car. It's not about the clothes that you wear. It is about how many memories have you made with the ones that you love, and how many times were you about in the important moments, when there was a hospital rush, when there was something that came up that everyone needed you there, you know, your family needed you, that you could be there in a heartbeat, and not having to ask a manager, can I leave early for my family? It's stuff like this. And, you know, I resonate with this. I've been in the Winnie Pooh forest, the New Forest with my family, and our son loved it. And I can, you know, it's always about playing. You know, I'm a kid at heart. My dad's a kid at heart. My son's going to be just like me. And I just feel every word of this, and I hope you are too.
And we've been doing it ever since. And so I believe what's being described in that last regret is people sacrifice their playfulness, their joyfulness, for the sake of being accepted and being successful and all that. It's a huge one. Play is built into our brains. Kids play spontaneously. Infants play. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, we can all be Winnie the Pooh and Christopher. We can always keep playing in the Enchanted Forest, and that's just essential, I think.
Oh, I got shivers again. I just love that podcast. I think you should go check it out. It really does hit home. We could all be Winnie the Pooh playing in the Enchanted Forest. You know, my mentor, Jason Greystone, when he talks, and you might have seen some podcasts with me and Jason, he always talks about being always free, and mentions about, you know, how many of you remember when you were younger, what you wanted to do as a kid? Like for me, I was a 90s baby. I'd get on my BMX, put my pegs on, and I'd ride to my friend's house called Paul. And then we'd get on the back of the BMX and we'd just go around, and, you know, we'd go swimming and we'd do this. And everything was playful, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and a possibility. And then you get steered into the workplace. You know, you get told what you need to do. Your suppression, you go for a job interview, they tell you, are you good at this? Are you good at this? Do you do as you're told? And you say, yes, boss. Yeah, 3 bags full, boss. How high, boss? And over the years, you get told what to do, and you forget about all these things, all your play, your fun side, doing stupid stuff, silly things, the simple ones, right? So look, I you know, I'm doing this video for all of you, but I feel like I've done this video also for me, because it reminds me again exactly why I had to get myself out of the traditional workplace, going from a place of no control to now fully owning and controlling my entire life. And we have this abundance of resources, possibility, opportunity at our fingertips. You know, my God, the phone, the laptop, the camera, the microphone, the ring light opens up a world of possibility. Any business, agency, SaaS, product, service, memberships, physical business, hybrid, online, whatever it is, you will need marketing, and all of this stuff you can start for free to design the life that you truly want. So I really do hope you got a lot from this video. Please let me know in the comments, did this impact you? Has it given you food for thought? I would love to know, as we go into 2026, that we can be accountable and we can monitor the progress of my subscribers. I want to know that in 2026, we're all heading in the right direction. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you want to, great, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, my very good people, as you can see, I'm loving second video, my Christmas jumper, because it is that time of the year. And also I made another cup of coffee in my Ratatouille cup. Love this bad boy. My favourite Disney film, there you go. Something new you've learnt about me is Ratatouille. Actually, I like Beauty and the Beast. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you all soon. Peace out.